Found an excellent use for these bamboo skewers. Cost about $1 or $2 for a bag of like 100. I was recently making an extruder screw, and this came in handy for finishing up the threads on it. So you split it in half up the middle, or as close to the middle as you can. That one turned out great. I might get 2 out of it. Use your razor blade to give it a good scrape. This flattens out the surface. Make sure your flattened area is about the length of the sandpaper you want to adhere. I'm going to get 2 out of this. Nice. A lot of times I only get 1, but when the skewer splits nice, you can get 2 out of it. Apply super glue to the side you just flattened. Be generous, but don't put on too much because it'll get in the grit on the sandpaper. Spread it with the other half. And this is when you can tell if you have too much. Get that too much off. And then quickly, before the glue dries, stick it on the back side of the sandpaper. Careful not to have contact with your hands in any place for too long. Press along the spine. You can do real short sections when you're pressing. You can tell my fingers are sticking a little bit. That's why I say don't leave it in one place too long, because a little bit's alright, but if you leave it there too long, you're stuck. See, I kind of put a little too much on there. This probably went through to the board underneath too. Look at that. So even when you do everything just right, something goes wrong. So there, we're stuck on the sandpaper nicely. Now just use your razor to trim it. Watch out for screws. If you get it cut through the sandpaper all the way down, then you'll have a nice edge for the next one. Nice. That won't affect see the little bit right here where we got the super glue, that won't affect the sanding property of it too much. There, you got the point on this end. Get rid of that point. If you're anything like me, you'll stab yourself with that at some point, so I might as well get rid of it. And there you've got a little sanding skewer. One more time with the other half. Skewers you can buy in the grocery store. Super glue is super cheap now. You can get it at dollar stores just about everywhere. If you don't already have it. Just make sure you got a good coat all the way along. Quickly get it to your sandpaper. Align the tip and the edge. You can have the sandpaper hang over quite a bit as you're using this. I'll just fold over, keep things moving. Once that super glue sets up, you can trim it. You can use whatever grit sandpaper you want. You could use wet dry sandpaper. You could probably do this with regular dry sandpaper. I use the wet dry because once they're good and cured, you can actually dip them in water and sand with them wet. That way the sandpaper lasts longer. And I suppose there's probably no limit to what you could use these for. If you need to get rust or grit from hard to reach places that you can't get with a file, or plain piece of sandpaper with no support, like I mentioned, I used mine on cleaning up the threads on a plastic extruder screw. I'll leave this point on, I'll take them off later. But as you can see, I've made quite a few videos. But as my example, like on this extruder screw, I used it to clean up the pressure side of the tooth, I guess it is, to smooth it out. You can get in angles and around different areas. So it's just a good idea. I've heard of using dop sticks or wood dowels or popsicle sticks, things like that. But I came up with this one when I was working on that project, so it seemed like a good one.